Lust gets pressed.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. Okay, yeah. So Polish Mountain will still be theoretically on pace for those two Lusts. Meanwhile, Holy Method and Anti-Clockwise are nearing the end of their Solias. They're fighting for that +2 timer in this dungeon. Holy Method, 1 minute and 35 seconds left on that timer. One more immune phase on Solia, and they should be able to take the boss down before the next one. Their Lust has now expired. They don't have an awful lot of cooldowns here, but 20%, it's pretty low for the boss to be here. I think they're okay on this timer.
I do think so as well. So let's take a look at Anti-Clockwise to see how their timer is as they get that last immune phase in as well. The boss is a little bit higher for Anti-Clockwise in comparison to Holy Method here. But maybe they're also going to be in at 5% for Holy Method. And yeah, a little bit under a minute left for them. So looking pretty solid for Holy Method as they're going to unlock that 23 key level for the Gambit, which, as we mentioned earlier, has not been done on live servers before. So we'll see if they try and attempt it, or if they maybe just go and do the 22 instead. Either way, Anti-Clockwise also about to finish off the boss, and it looks like they might even be a little bit quicker than Holy Method even, and might have more than a minute left here as the boss does go down.
What a great performance from Anti-Clockwise. Both teams there, you can see their timers pretty much identical at the end of that run. That one death for Holy Method representing the, actually letting Anti-Clockwise be faster at the end of the 21 Gambit. Both teams now have the option, 22 or 23 Gambit. Which will they choose? I kind of feel, I hope I see at least Anti-Clockwise go 23. I think that would be such a dominant choice to go with, such a strong move if they can actually succeed there, and that's the kind of thing that would mean they're actually maybe playing for first today, not just for second.
Here it is, Holy Method immediately zoning back in, attempting that 23 Gambit. And Anti-Clockwise, as you said, I think they're doing the same thing. They're also straight back in there, queuing into that 23 dungeon. This is going to be so interesting to see if either of those teams can execute this 23 and put that world record on the board.
I'm really looking forward to seeing if they can achieve it and keep pushing their way up. But this has been so close, and we're literally just starting the day already seeing these dungeons go up and the timers come in. We have a swap that'll be happening, though, so Dratnos, we'll see you later today. And Zyronic's going to be coming in. Bye, Dratnos.
Good luck, Zyro.
Oh, man.
Bye. Hey, Zyro. So, I mean, there's a lot that's already happening. And of course, teams like Polish Mountain, Holy Method, their names a lot of people know. Polish Mountain in particular has been consistently improving, surprising us with sort of standout runs in past seasons. But Anti-Clockwise is a team that people might be a little bit less familiar with. So one of Anti's DPS Divine was formerly on Perplexed, but 3 of their members are first-timers in the group stages of the MDI, for anybody who doesn't know. But Zyro, in your opinion, as you come in, what have you seen from Anti-Clockwise' performance this weekend and starting out today?
That's a good question. So, on day one, you know, obviously, aside from Holy Method, they were probably the other standout team that we saw. They were extremely consistent. They locked in the second slot after day one, but yesterday there was a little bit of inconsistency, right? Obviously, like you just mentioned, there's a huge caliber of player on this team. Divine Field, one of the most decorated players in MDI history, getting second place countless times to whatever squad Echo put together in that season. Also winning an MDI with one of our broadcast producers way back in the day, back in Legion. Yont also, I mean, a rank 1 Mythic Plus player, has played in several MDIs as well. The caliber of player is high, but the consistency yesterday was lacking. They've started off the day fantastically in this Gambit, and it's insane to me that we're 45 minutes into the day, and these teams are already at the nosebleed level of keys. We're talking about 23 Gambit, and if Holy Method do want to get any further score, they only have one other 22 left to go for if this Gambit goes well for them, Nagura.
Yeah, that's just crazy. And if Holy Method finishes this dungeon before Anti-Clockwise finishes theirs, then they will have a world record in every single dungeon that they've done, which is just absolutely crazy. And yeah, as you mentioned, just having a 22 across the board, except that Floodgate. Yeah, I mean, this is insane. If they can do it. I mean, 23 is, as we talked about, not a key that has been done on live servers. And even though, looking at the timer, obviously they ended up 2 chesting at 21, which means that the timer for sure should be fine in this 23. but everything is just going to do so much damage to them. And the jump from a 22 to a 23 is pretty crazy from the amount of health that everything has and the amount of damage that everything does. We saw the stomps from these Goliaths coming in, dropping everyone so low, even though they have max avoidance. And yeah, just everything is going to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, just looking at the damage values for every single potential killing button at this key level. On a 23 level, let me just throw these numbers out for you. A Purifying Burst, that's the rotational damage button that Hillbrand does to multiple players every 15 seconds or so. That does 25 million magic damage. Hyperlight Jolt, the just passive AoE damage that happens on Celia every now and then, that's 26.5 million damage. Tidal Stomp, the AoE ability that these Goliaths do every 30 seconds or so. That's 27.7 million damage on this key level. Now, of course, that is reduced by avoidance, but you pretty much need to have a defensive cooldown or maybe perhaps a Lumathar trinket or something available for every single one of these abilities, even with avoidance at this key level. That's why we did see, just recently, a death for Holy Method to one of those stomps.
Yeah, Gingy going down to the Tidal Stomp, either not being fully full health or just having something else at him, not using one of those defensives we talked about that they need to even survive this, which is just crazy to think about. You have to coordinate your defensive so well to survive all of these abilities. But yeah, they should be able to still do it, as they did actually use their Battle Rest to get Gingy back up. Anti-Clockwise doing a pretty good job so far to be able to survive these Tidal Stomps from these Goliaths. And they also just have so much health. Even with that panel from the Havoc Demon Hunter, it's just crazy to see how long it takes them to finish off one of those Goliaths.
Yeah, I mean, on the lower key levels, on the 19s and the 21s, you can go into these polls with the consideration of, like, okay, we probably need to live through either 2 or 3 Tidal Stomps. But, you know, it goes back to the same problem we were talking about yesterday, and I'm sure Dratnos has been talking about it in the first 45 minutes or so as well, is that when you get to these higher key levels, with the classes that you're playing, all of your damage is so focused inside your cooldown, so that when the cooldowns run out, the mob's HP just really doesn't move. And even though it might only have 10% more HP, because you don't have cooldowns for that 10% extra HP, the mob might take 30, 40, 50% longer to kill. So instead of having to deal with 2 or 3 stomps, now you're probably having to deal with 4 or 5. And at that point, the defensives start to run out. The next stomp will kill someone, and you'll lose timer on the key that otherwise would have looked like you had time on the lower key level.
Yeah, this is just so difficult on a 23. In the meantime, Polish Mountain is trying to get their 21 key plus 2 as well, because they did have to reset their 21, unfortunately, earlier on Hillbrand, as they did have a death and no Battle Rest available there on their previous 21 attempt. So this is their second attempt on the 21. They have 4 minutes left here, as they are now entering phase 2, which I do think is going to be doable. They also get Bloodlust available in just a moment as well later on. They still have to play that one trash pack that they're going to be pulling in the boss. I assume once they have the Bloodlust available, or maybe already now. Oh, it looks like they're already pulling it in now without the lust. So the other teams, Anti-Clockwise and Holy Method, ended up using their lust for this pull in particular here with the trash onto the boss. But Polish Mountain, because they're delaying their Bloodlust for Time Captain Hooktail, rather than using it on the trash pack before that second boss, they do have their last up later, as their DK does go down here to Fragmentation. They have to use their Battle Rest. This is not ideal, because they did have some cooldowns up here as well, as the trash was alive.
Yeah, and of course, consideration needs to be taken into account for the plus 2 chest timer, right? It looked like they were pretty far ahead heading into this second phase of the boss here. 4 minutes for phase 2 of Celia, even on 21, should be enough, considering they had the cooldowns available and the lust is available. But that 15-second time loss, in addition to the fact that Rafis was likely in cooldowns there as they started the phase and he died, that's a very big time loss for them here, and we'll have to keep an eye on this run from Polish Mountain. If they're able to still get the 2 chest off, it would be really bad for them in the consideration of them being in the top 2 to qualify to global finals if they're unable to pull off that 2 chest after Anti-Clockwise and Holy Method have both done that. Oh, scary moment here, of course, as the Jolt comes out, dealing with those stars. We're having issues for Holy Method as well on the 23 in the top right-hand corner here, as they have also wiped to Hillbrand, similar to what we saw from Polish Mountain in the 21 earlier today.
Wow, yeah, we had a Ritualist here for Polish Mountain that was still alive. That's a slither of health as that intermission came out, and one of the bolts went through on their Elemental Shaman, plus the AoE as well. But yeah, we have a replay here for Holy Method, and we'll see what happens as Whippy dies to a melee.
Ooh.
Purifier.
Oh, can we roll that back? Was it as it spawns?
That
Did it
grip
jump
maybe?
down and bop him on the head? Maybe. Is that can
Oh, that
happen all the
happens.
time?
Yeah.
Let's see. Ah, yeah. Yeah, look, it jumps down and he's the closest to it, so it just bops him in the head. Instantly gets healer aggro before now's available to get aggro on it. That can happen. Little unfortunate it happens in the first 23 attempt, but still, start of the day good for Holy Method. Remember, they're in the driver's seat. They still have that extra point over both Anti-Clockwise and Polish Mountain from their standout performances on day 1 and 2, so not too big of an issue for them. Remember, they were able to wipe in Ecodome Aldani for almost 2 hours yesterday, and still had a lead heading into the day. Big moment here for Polish Mountain as the Bloodlust is active. One final phase here to try to do as much damage to Celia as possible. 1 minute left on the 2-chest timer. Can they pull this off?
We're seeing the boss drop really fast with that Bloodlust running here, so I think they got it as they have to dodge those bolts coming through, but it is looking good. They definitely are slower than the other teams. They had those 2 deaths, as we talked about. Obviously, those death penalties not ideal. The boss is dropping really, really quickly for them. Around 30 seconds left, so I think they're able to also go into that 23 if they want to. And there it is, +2 for Polish Mountain as well on this 21. Immediate town portal coming in. And now I want to take a quick look at Anti-Clockwise, as 9 to 5 also managed to get their 20 done now, which means that they are moving on to the 21. But yeah, Anti-Clockwise doing the 23 now. They're about to hit another sanitizing cycle here for Hillbrand. They're gonna have to play one more of those, and they're still in 0 deaths, so looking very, very solid.
Yeah, and I love the strategy here that we're seeing from the teams on Hillbrand to give that Havoc Demon Hunter a little extra funnel on the boss. They've kept a Scalebinder from the previous pull alive so that it can spawn these invigorating fish sticks and give the Havoc Demon Hunter a couple extra targets to funnel damage onto Hillbrand with. It's a cheap little way to just get extra boss damage out. And look at this. Anti-Clockwise, not only not wiping to this boss, but absolutely shredding this boss. Only 2 intermissions, and the boss goes down nearly at the 10-minute mark. Anti-Clockwise looking fantastic today. I was worried about them yesterday. You know, they had a lot of wipes near the middle of the day. Were able to pull it back at the last moment and tie the score with Polish Mountain. But this is really the start to the day they need if they want to be one of our top 2 teams for Global Finals.
Yeah, they're doing incredibly well. Now, obviously, because it's a 23, they're quite a bit slower compared to the 21 that they had earlier, so their Bloodlust is already available right now. It took them maybe like 2 minutes longer to... Yeah, 1.5 minutes longer to finish off Hillbrand here. So we'll see what they do with the Lust. We know that in the 21, they did use their Bloodlust on the trash pull, the second trash pull in Time Captain Hooktail's room. So we'll see if they're going to do the same thing here again. They have a little bit of a leeway to use their Bloodlust here when you consider the whole timer of the dungeon, but not too much. So they're going to have to use it eventually here in this area if they want to get it back for Celia. At the end. It looks like 9 to 5 actually are switching their 3rd damage dealer again. So they went
Once
from
again.
the Hawk Evoker in the 19 to the Red Paladin in the 20. And now...
Hold on.
Oh, are
Are they playing Fury Warrior?
Maybe.
DPS Warrior?
Yeah.
Hello? They're really giving us all the fun comps here at the end of the day. Hold on, let's
Love
take a
this.
look at 9 to 5 here. Let's get a closer look. Wait, their tank is playing DPS. Does that mean Jisu's going to be playing tank for us? Is that what we're going to be
What
seeing?
is he going to be playing?
I see him on the Demon Hunter there. You can see
Vengeance
him.
Demon Hunter?
Are they going to invite him to
Alright.
the group? Is that what's going on here?
I
All
love
right.
this.
A little bit of a role swap, too. I mean, listen, the last time we saw this happen, it didn't go well for the team. That was Physical God Comp back in Season 2. Maybe they
Yeah.
can pull it off a little bit better, though. We'll have to keep an eye on what they're doing. Let's check back in with Anti-Clockwise here. I'm going to keep it on them for a little while because this is the 23 Gambit. They are the furthest progressed, and this is the first time we're seeing this key on this difficulty this season. So let's see how they deal with these pulls. Every single one of these pulls, like we were talking about, the difficulty is just amped up like crazy. The packs are going to live longer. The abilities do more. A single brackish bolt goes off on a player, it could one-shot them. Not to mention the random sword tosses that the officers do in this pull as well. You really need to focus on making sure you're spread out and not cleaving any of that damage on the players here.
And this is just so dangerous. You can see how they're trying to get everything interrupted and disrupted, but it's so tough because they have so much health that you're just running out of interrupts, you're running out of disrupts. It's just very, very difficult to handle. You're running out of defensives, so Yonta has to start kiting. You can see him engaging that second pack already because they have to. There's a certain amount of time that they have for 23, and even though you managed to 2-chest at 21, all of a sudden on the 23, everything takes so much longer that, especially like the bosses as well, that I think the 23 timer is going to be pretty close for them.
And they're playing these pulls aggressively, right? This is really good, although a brackish pull does go off right as I'm talking about it, and it takes out the DK. The tankiest member of the group had the AMS available, but obviously wasn't expecting a bolt to be hitting him in the dome there, so a little unfortunate, but they do have the battle res for him, and he wasn't in cooldown, so it's not the worst type of death. But look at the AoE damage from these melee players stacked whenever those throw swords come out from the Corsair officers. They really need to make sure they're topped for those. Yonto also in danger as he's still tanking the deckhands that they've pulled in from that previous pull, making sure they get maximum funnel value for the Demon Hunter so they can kill these officers in Tide Sages as quickly as possible. And it wouldn't surprise me as well if, once the officers were dealt with, they actually just pull these Tide Sages on top of the boss as well, trying to maximize that funnel, making sure they can deal with the boss as quickly as possible. Because remember, the timer's a huge consideration here. Even though they 2-chested the 21, if you start factoring deaths in, the timer on this 23 is going to be very, very tight, so they need to maximize their boss damage as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, 100%. It does look like they want to finish this off, though. It looks like it might be a little bit too spicy for them to have some of these Tide Sages up as the boss is also engaged. So they did finish it off, did now immediately afterwards engage that boss. This boss is going to have a lot of health of them on this key level. So we talked about this earlier, that this boss, for an MDI team, they are going to be able to not struggle with this too much because, of course, they're fully coordinated. They're going to be stacking up, making sure all of these ads are funneling into the same spot to make it easy for Yonta to hit them with the frontal. They're also going to be able to put the puddles into the correct spot to make sure the area of denial isn't covering. It can fall apart really quickly here, especially if it takes so long that you have to, at some point, you just don't know where to stand anymore, right? Because you have to go through the whole room. There's puddles everywhere, so yeah, this is still going to be a difficult fight for them on a 23.
Look at the way they're playing these debuffs, though, by the way. Did you notice? Robin isn't even dispelling the debuff off of the players here. Nezro's just fell off naturally. Went to 30 stacks of that debuff. Of course, you want to try to keep it on your players as long as possible, but it is a buff. It gives you a ton of extra haste, so it's very nice to have active on the players as long as you can. Of course, it starts to tick for a heavy amount of damage, and of course, when you dispel them, they do a lot of damage. But look, again here, debuff on Divine Field, 20 stacks. I think Robin's going to let that expire naturally. Let Divine Field enjoy that haste buff as long as possible. Of course, the players that have the 2 new debuffs are going to be in a little bit of danger when that finally does get dispelled, but nothing that Robin can't deal with.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting to see that they're doing this in a 23 even, with all of that damage coming through. Now, obviously, most of the damage here is very scripted, except like the hook coming through from the boss, so that can be a little bit of an overlap that can cause some danger. You can see Divine Field just now getting hit by it, dropping him to like 20% of his HP. Yeah, very nice utilization of that extra buff here, extra damage. You can see the boss dropping incredibly low already for them. And still, they have this one death on the board, but yeah, they're looking so incredibly solid. In the meantime, Polish Mountain and Holy Method now both on Hillbrand again in their 23 run, and both of them still on that those 0 deaths.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the Hillbrand for them in just a moment, but I want to keep it on Time Captain Hooktail and see if Anti-Clockwise is able to deal with this cleanly. They're good, so good, so far, so good. But look at the Hunter here, the Beast Mastery Hunter. This is all single target damage. They had like one officer at 20% HP when they pulled it into the boss.
Yeah.
He's just doing 7 million single target DPS. Now, of course, the haste buff is massive for the BM Hunter. They love having that extra stats, but still, that is a absolutely ridiculous amount of single target damage to be doing right now. He is definitely on the good side of the Black Arrow RNG for sure.
And that's exactly what they want to see, that good RNG on their BM Hunter. The boss definitely dropping lower and lower. They already reset their position to go on this like previous, like on their starting position. So they basically went all the way to the right of the room and back. So Holy Method now though, on Hillbrand. This is where they wiped earlier, right? They had Whippy die to a melee as one of those purified